How you doing, everybody? So this is a question from last week's advanced PowerShell class. Why does VS Code give you a warning when you're using null with a comparison operator? Let's take a look. Null is PowerShell's representation of nothing. It's not even zero. It just means absolutely nothing. Now, the problem we're having is when you're using null and a comparison operator, PowerShell sometimes will flag out a warning. This feature is triggered by the PowerShell Script Analyzer. Now, for those of you using VS Code and you've got the PowerShell component installed, you get the PS Script Analyzer. You can also manually invoke it by, first of all, downloading the PS Script Analyzer, I should say install it, from the PowerShell Gallery. Now I'm going to put a link in the description to the documentation about the PS Script Analyzer module. Also, if you're interested in this code, go to the Infotech Zone YouTube page, click on that community tab, and you're going to see the posting from August 20th, 2024, where it has a copy of this code. Now I'm going to call up the specific rule that gets triggered when this warning pops up. So I'm going to run get script analyzer rule, and the rule name is PSPossibleIncorrectComparisonWithNull. I don't know how they come up with these long names. So here's the information on this rule. Checks that null is on the left side of any equality comparisons. When there is an array on the left side of a null equality comparison, PowerShell will check for a null in the array rather than if the array is null. If the two sides of the comparison are switched, then this is fixed. Now this is just a warning. It doesn't necessarily mean your code won't work, but it means that we have to be careful. So whereas I would normally say, is this equal to null, it says, I should write it null is equal to this. A little confusing. So that's why we might want to rely on our favorite Jedi Master.
Do or do not. There is no try.
We call this a Yoda condition, and that's where you essentially going to write your code as if Yoda is speaking. Speaking must like Yoda. So let's take a look. Here I'm going to create a variable. It's going to have a single value, and it's called test data. I'm going to assign it to be null. And here you can see I'm getting a warning where my null is on the right-hand side as opposed to the left-hand side of the equality operator. Now when I run this though, it's okay. This did come out as true. It worked. And when I run it with it written the correct way in the Yoda condition, it also works. Now remember, we are using a singular value. Now we're going to continue looking at a singular value here, but remember when we go to arrays, things are going to get a little weird. So let's take a look at some incorrect usage, something that you might accidentally do. Here I'm setting a variable called value assigned to 5, but when I'm asking is value equal to null, notice the problem. I'm not using -eq, I am using the assignment operator. That literally means in the if statement, I am assigning value to be null. Now let's go ahead and run this code and let's see what happens. So the value is nothing. Well, you see, this is what happened in our if statement. So this did not come out to be true. It came out to be false. So therefore the else took over and it wrote out this statement. Now since value is now null, that's why we did not see anything right here. Let's try out this statement. Here I'm asking is null assigned value. We got a problem here. Again, we forgot our -eq. Now what happens is it says the value is null. Wait. This is not true or false. So why did this execute? Well, that's a good question there. So when you're working with if statements in PowerShell, it is looking for true, false, or something other than true. Take a look. So here I'm going to deliberately set my if condition to be true. When I run it, it works. I'm going to deliberately set it to false. When I run it, it doesn't print my text. When I say the word hello, which is obviously not true and obviously not false, well, guess what? It also works. Let's see how we actually should write this code. Here I have null to the left, the PowerShell equality operator, and then the value we're comparing it to. Let's go ahead and run this. And we can see that the output says the value is 5. So the else condition triggered. Let's take a look at the effect when an array is involved. Here I have an array on the left, a comparison operator, and then null on the right. Once again, we are getting that warning. Now, remember, the output of a comparison operator should be true or false. When I run this, I get nothing. But when I put null to the left, comparison operator, and then my array, I get a false because obviously the array is not null, but at least we know now the comparison operator is functioning correctly by responding either true or false. And here I'm going to just run is null equal to null. It does come back as true. Here I'm taking a look at an empty array and determine if it's equal to null or if it's not equal to null. Now when I run both of these just by themselves, you can see we're not getting a true or false response. So when I run both sets of code, you can see we get false in both conditions. Something's not right. And again, it has to do with the fact we're working with an array, a comparison operator, and null on the right. Let's see what happens when we switch null and put it on the left. So once again, I am going to run the comparison operator. Here we have a false if null is equal to an empty array. And we're going to see if null is not equal to an empty array. This time we get a true. So when our code runs, it functions correctly. So trying to speak like Yoda can be a little confusing, but here's a simple way to do it. Just make sure your null is on the left-hand side of the comparison operator. Now again, if you're using a single value that you're comparing it to, you'll probably be okay. With an array, you're not. So as a rule of thumb, pay attention to the warning. Put your nulls on the left. Thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you all in the next episode.